Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coaching for Managers. This is our live class today. Sorry for the small delay. Usually it would be Mickey Fitch Collins doing the hosting, but we had a little bit of Wi-Fi issues going there. That's why we started a little bit late, but we are here now. I have the wonderful Christian Durso here, as you can see, to the left of me or right of me. I don't know what side. Sometimes it flips from what you guys are seeing, but he's going to be taking you through the Coaching Through Managers course today. And let me just get my screen shared and we will get started. All right. So today is Coaching for Managers, guys. This is a live class. This is also the first time that we're combining our audiences from offsite and YouTube together. So all the interaction is going to be done through the chat. Just know there is a small delay on our side. So if you guys see, like if we're not responding very quickly, it's just because there's a small delay. But other than that, it should function normally. This is, again, Coaching for Managers with Christian Durso. I'm going to go over everything, how it works and everything like that, and how these live classes will work going forward. These are all hosted. You can sign up for them on Offsite or our YouTube channel. They're there. It's going to be every other Friday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We do have a monthly theme that we use each month. I think this month is mainly for a manager theme this month. And then it's often based. All these courses, guys, are based on our full-length workshops. What that means is that this is just going to be a piece or a cut of one of our full-length workshops. Today's Coaching for Managers, this is going to be you're going to get about 45 minutes of the class, but this is a 2-hour session where we have more breakouts. There's breakout rooms. There's much more interactivity and back and forth. Obviously, you'll see each other in the classroom and everything like that. So there's a chance to network and everything like that in the courses and the actual live courses itself. These are always led by subject matter experts and guests. Today we have Christian Durso, but we've also had people like Brian Lanier, who's a DEI expert, obviously Mickey Fitch Collins. We've had tons of people previously on these offsite events from all different industries. And, we've had people from the Fighting Blindness organization. We've had just a whole bunch of different people come through and teach you guys things. And again, this is a free live session that we offer every other Friday. Again, you can get an advanced preview of them at Offsite or on our YouTube channel here. And again, all the chat is interacted here. And I just want to say good morning to Alabdeen, Lena, Sarah, and Anshu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I know for some of you, it might be the evening, afternoon, depending on where you're at. But yeah, good morning to everybody. And then let's see. I'm going to introduce Christian. You already saw him, but Christian is a professional development trainer, accomplished playwright, and screenwriter, and runs a nonprofit arts organization in his hometown of Los Angeles. You can catch his stuff on Netflix. He values bringing more creativity into the lives of working professionals and bringing more professionalism into the lives of creatives. He has a background as a crisis counselor and values clear, empathetic communication as the basis for building powerful relationships at home and at work. Christian has executive produced and written for shows on Netflix, films for Sony, and plays for theaters across the nation. He managed teams internationally and remotely and creates engaging environments where his students, colleagues, and peers can access their potential for discovery and discover joy in their work. Sorry, I kind of butchered that a little bit, but let's bring him on screen. Hey, Christian, it's your show.
Welcome. Hello, and thank you, by the way, for in the chat bar. We're already getting where we're from. Thank you. We have Nigeria here. If you are, just let us know where you're coming in from today. I love to know where people are coming in from. So in that chat bar, just to show that you're here and we have a pulse going, just let us know where you're coming in from. That's really great to know. I'm coming in from Los Angeles this morning. That's my hometown, as was just mentioned a moment ago. I'm really excited to talk to you today about coaching, specifically for manager. Hello from Maryland. Hello, Shelly. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So the way the today is going to work is we're going to be here for about an hour. We're going to be doing some exercises together. I have some tools to show you. I have some slides to show you. I really hope that you can join us in the more fuller class, because here's where we get a chance to really interact with each other. And the great thing about coaching in the class is that we actually get to work one-on-one. We get to talk to each other. You get to work with the other peers in the room. Great. So we have people coming in from India, and hello from Jordan, and hello from also another one from India. Lovely. So I like seeing people coming in from all over. I'm just going to go ahead and just get started here. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. Again, like I said, I have a slide deck to share with you here, and it's going to have some exercises. So I encourage you to please keep a piece of paper and a pen nearby. If you love doing the documents, that is also going to work just fine. But I do encourage you to please lean in. There's a few times I'm going to ask you to do some exercises where you type something into the chat bar as well. Again, normally I would ask you to keep your camera on. This is a different sort of situation, but please take notes. Treat that chat bar like a Twitter feed. I will always be kind of looking through it. Stay hydrated or caffeinated throughout your time, and be curious. What we're going to cover today, and hello, Cherry from Vietnam, and hello, Sarah from Toronto. Here's what we're covering today. We're going to take a look at understanding what the benefits are of promoting coaching as a culture in your organization, what that looks like. And we're also going to develop a prerequisite. Now, I don't mean prerequisite in terms of a credential. I mean prerequisite in terms of a mindset and the way we think about how we can coach others. And hello, Collins and Ghana. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I truly do take pride in coaching other people. I do coach professionals, and I actually hire my own coaches as well. It's really a way to continue growth and look for what our potential is. So my question to you is just going to be in the chat bar here. What kind of coaches have you interacted with in the past? And this could be in your own life. This could be outside of your professional life. This could be athletic. Oftentimes we think about coaches, we think about athletic coaches, but what kind of coaches have you interacted with? And if you haven't interacted with a coach before, maybe just mention that too. This is your first introduction to coaching in general. So in the chat bar, in that stream, what kind of coaches do you interact with? I'm curious to see what those are. Just go ahead and fire them off. Also, if they happen to be from popular culture, a television show, one that's popular, at least in the States, is a show called Ted Lasso. It's about a coach. Hello from Calgary. Good to see you there. Just what is your experience with coaching? Anyone want to go ahead and fire that off into the chat bar there? And as you do that, we'll continue on. But I'm just curious to know what your experience with coaches are. And I want to draw the difference between managing and coaching. And thank you, Shelly. I see you there in the stream saying communication and leadership coaches. So this is something, Shelly, that sounds like you have you've worked with in the past to improve your communication and to improve your leadership abilities. Let's draw a bright line. Hello, Ray from Chicago. Let's draw a bright line between managing and coaching, because they are going to be different. So as your duties as a manager and your duties as a coach will be different. So however many people that you already work with, the direct reports you might already have, I want you to consider that managing is its own entity. And for this, we are assigning responsibilities. We're outlining what someone's accountabilities might be. And of course, also as a manager, we have to run meetings for a couple things. We have to run a meeting for results, and we have to run a meeting for time, right? So we're balancing that as a manager. We also, as a manager, are monitoring someone's progress, right? We're tracking to see that the results are on target for your own responsibilities there. We're also making executive decisions, meaning that when the buck has to stop, it stops with you. You make a decision. Sometimes it can be an unpopular decision, but you make that decision with a high degree of confidence, emotional intelligence, and clarity, right? Those are some major things about being a manager. Now, I just want to draw a line about how it's different from coaching. So the nature of coaching, it involves listening. It means asking more questions. We're going to separate how coaching is different from teaching in a moment, but it really does involve asking more questions. I'll say it again. It's not telling someone, it's asking them questions, because our job as a coach is to unlock someone else's potential. Our job as a coach is to support someone else's growth and also having some kind of accountability there. So coaching is really more future focused. We're really concentrating on where we are in the present, where the future is, and what the bridge between those can look like. Also, coaching can be formal and it can also be informal, right? Formal coaching really looks more like meeting someone on a regular basis, perhaps even on an annual basis or a bi-monthly basis, where it's really more of a one-on-one check-in where the coaching is a little bit more formal and scheduled. The kind of coaching that I want to talk about today, and the one that we talk about in the Fuller course, is more of an informal kind of coaching. This is where we are coaching as we're sort of passing the person in our life a little bit more. It's more regular, but it's also less formal, so it's less scheduled. It allows us to check in at various times of our days and our weeks, where we can really check in with the person and ask questions about their growth. So it's less one-on-one times. So that's what we want to look at today. And it's questions that we want to ask like, hey, how are you doing? What's on your mind today? What have you seen change? What does better look like? What does a better result look like? It's asking these kinds of questions to get the other person talking more. So there's a difference here, and I just want to outline those. There's a few other differences that I want to make sure that we're paying attention to right away. What coaching actually is not. Coaching is not giving advice. It's also not counseling or therapy. It's not mentoring, essentially. Mentors are a little bit different from coaches. Mentors are really more involved on a larger scale. So they're really more involved in the tent poles of someone's life. Someone you check in with at a less regular basis, right? Once a year, you might talk to your mentor and see where the large ship of your life might be headed, your large ship of your professional life might be headed. A coach is a little bit more involved on the day-to-day, smaller adjustments that get made, right? So a mentor does a bit of the larger work. Counseling is also a little bit different. This is when we're seeking to resolve a very, very specific issue. So counseling is really about, it goes a little bit deeper, but not quite as deep as the other thing that coaching is not, which is therapy. Now, coaching can be therapeutic, but it's not therapy. Coaching it's different in that we're not really looking to find the underlying psychological issues which might be troubling someone. For that, it really does involve needing someone who has a true credential in this area. So it's not therapy, although it can be therapeutic at times. Also, this is where coaching gets mixed up sometimes. Is it's not training. Training is the process of having one skill set be transferred to someone else, where the trainer is truly the expert in something, and they submit that information to someone who is learning it for the first time. This is training. It's also teaching. Coaching is a little bit different. Coaching is where the coachee, the person you're talking to, they are already the expert. They already know what they're doing, and it's the coach's job to get the best out of them. Right? Some of the best coaches in athletic history, they're not necessarily the best players, especially at that time in their lives, at the game. The players are the best, right? What their job is as a coach is to get the best out of those players, to make them work as a team, perhaps. So this is what coaching is and how it's different. So these are things that we're not looking at when it comes to coaching. And I just want us to keep that in mind, how coaching and managing are different and how coaching is not these things. So as we're learning what it is not, let's talk about what coaching actually is. What coaching is this, and this one comes from Sir John Whitmore. He's a leading figure in the field, and he defines it as unlocking people's potential to maximize their own performance. Now, this is going to be our first mini exercise. I'm going to want you to be able to do it on your own. And hello, I see Ray from Chicago and Jose, greetings from Mexico. I see you there in the stream. Thank you for chiming in there. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to consider these two circles. We have the performance circle on the inside and the potential circle on the outside. I want you to bring to mind someone that you would like to coach. This could be a direct report. This could be someone in your life. This could be someone that you work with, that you have an appropriate relationship to be able to coach. And I want you to think about everything inside that inner circle, the things they are currently doing. And for now, just for this exercise, just think about the good things, right? Don't think about the things that they're not doing, or the things they're getting wrong, or the things they need to improve upon, really. I want you to think about the things that they're doing quite well. That is their performance. That inner circle is their performance. And that is what we're going to call their comfort zone. This is the thing that they do quite well. Now there's that outer circle. These are the things they haven't quite mastered yet, or they can't quite be consistent with just yet. This represents their potential. right? And so I want you to think about the things that the person that you, either your direct report or the person you want to coach, what their potential might be. What are the things they're not doing on a regular basis? What are the things that they haven't tried yet? If this person did grow into their potential, these are the things they could do. And I want to be clear, all of us, every single person in this room, myself, everyone in that stream feed, we all have these two circles. We have that inner thing, which is our comfort level. We have the outer, which is our potential, right? And that the outer can continue to grow in different ways. It's recognizing what that potential is that we're not quite at with our performance. That is the beginning of coaching. So I want you to take a minute right now, and I'm only going to give you a minute. So it's going to be a sprint kind of a exercise here. I want you to, on a piece of paper right now, draw these two circles. Draw it so it's big enough so that you can write something inside of it. Draw the inner circle that is the performance of the person that you're thinking of. And if you can't think of a person you want to coach right now, go with yourself. You can just put the things down that you would like to be coached in. The point here is to find these boundaries. Draw that inner circle for the performance and draw the outer circle for the potential on your paper. And I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to start the timer right now. I want you to write down everything that lands in that comfort zone for this person or for yourself. What are the things that they're performing quite well at? And again, let's just stay positive for this time. And then for the second 30 seconds of this, I want you to write a couple of things in the potential. If the potential was reached, what exists in that circle? I'm going to give us a minute. I'm going to start the clock right now. It's already going. Draw those two circles. And then if you want to in the stream, maybe include a couple of things that you found in drawing those two circles. So we have about 50 seconds left here. And I'll let you know when we are halfway. Performance and potential. Potential and performance. Are you doing it? Please do it. Okay, we're about 30 seconds in now. You should have gotten a couple things down for your performance. Now move to the potential. What things could you do or could they do if they just grew a little bit more? Go toward the positive here. What are the positive things they could change? Final 5 seconds here. Told you this was a short exercise. Now, hopefully there in that 1 minute, you came up with at least one or two things for the performance and the potential. I want you to consider as a coach, if you want to keep growing as a coach, where those two things always live. It's always going to come back to this. What is their performance? Where's their potential? Together, as you work with the coach, you're going to find the best bridge that gets that inner circle to grow a little bit more. So, and this is the thing that unlocks that thing in the outer circle, which is the potential. So really great. So, and again, if you want to share any of those in the stream, please feel free to do it. So the question becomes, why might employees really need a coach? So let's just talk about some statistics as to where coaching is and how it can actually help us. And so these are some statistics. This comes from the International Coaching Federation, and this was in a 2022 Forbes article. That as people increase their exposure to coaching, they report more self-confidence. And there's also a benefit in improved work performance. They have better relationships, more effective communication skills also. It's this constant move toward a feedback loop that when you enter that more and more, you become a little bit more self-aware. And as you see that inner circle move just a touch toward that potential, you can gain more confidence, which helps you decide, you know what, I can enter more relationships. I actually have confidence in my performance. My communication is improving. And Ray, I really appreciate you there, or perhaps it's Lori Ray. You're saying performance computer knowledge. Let us know, Ray, is that something that actually is that's the area you want to move into? Is this right? That's your potential, just more performance computer knowledge. Is that about right, Lori Ray? Let us know in the chat bar there. So good. So these are just some ideas about coaching. And the other thing that it really does increase is productivity and efficiency. You feel better about the work you do, and you actually get engaged in the act of growing. And thank you, Lori Ray. I see you there with the confirmation there about performance computer knowledge is the area you find in that outer circle. I urge you, Lori Ray, to continue doing that exercise for yourself. I gave you 1 minute. You could probably spend 10 minutes. You might be able to spend a lifetime just doing that one exercise there. Other benefits about coaching is that it builds relationships between managers and employees. As you think about your direct reports or the people that you want to coach through and grow, it actually engenders trust because you're looking for someone's potential. They like seeing that there is potential there. They get rewarded in some way when their potential grows. Trust builds, and this is how lifetime relationships can really, really gel together. So employees, when they feel supported by their managers, they're more engaged, and also has some results of leading toward better retention as well. So let's just think about these statistics as good things. We want to move toward this. So now I want to just ask you the question. I would love for everyone to chime in on the chat bar. What does a good coach do? Right? A couple of you said you maybe had a coach before, perhaps in performance or communication, but what are things that a good coach does? In the stream, go ahead and just chime in. What have you seen a good coach do? What are the actual attributes they do? Thank you, Shelly. So you said, so Shelly right now is saying listening. Listening is a really good one, right? That's excellent. That is going to be the cornerstone. Shelly's also saying asking questions. Really great. Thank you, Shelly. Appreciate that. Any other thoughts here? We have listening, asking questions. What else does a good coach do? Consider if you've been coached by someone in your life, or if you've seen someone else be coached, or if you've witnessed any good coaching. Active listening, FTG, great. Active listening is a really wonderful, it's a skill set, really. And we'll talk about a model toward the end of our time here together that really gets at the active listening. And you're also saying, Firas, that asking questions by identifying issues and trying to solve them. And I really love that phrasing there, Firas, that it's about figuring out how to ask the right questions that draw out that issue, that helps the other person try to solve them. The really weird trick with coaching is that they are doing more talking than you are. You're asking the right questions to draw it out. And this can be tricky because we get into places where, especially if we feel we're good at something, and oftentimes we find ourselves as managers of people because we've been good at the very thing we're trying to help someone do better. So there's a temptation to give advice, to dictate, to tell someone how to do something and what to do. There's a temptation to do that, and we're going to want to move away from that and go toward the very thing that Firas is saying here in the stream, asking questions, identifying issues, trying to help them solve them. FTG also is saying empathy is a big one, right? Having empathy is really wonderful. Empathy is feeling with someone. M meaning in, pathos meaning feeling. We are in feeling with someone with empathy. That means we're in their shoes. We understand a little bit about what their life is. And if we can't, we're at least attempting to try. Different from sympathy, where we feel bad for someone. Oof, you're not very good at that. I feel bad for you. Oh, I see. You're struggling and you're learning. I know what that's like because I'm learning things in my life too. Understanding what that learning is always like. Also, Lena says there's some encouragement there. I really like that too. There's encouragement at the right time. And as Shelly's saying, they also know the right time to say, okay, now might be the time to give a little bit of a push. I know that that's happened in my life as well. I've been resistant to something because why? It's outside of my comfort zone. It feels uncomfortable to go to this next thing. The right coach, and I've been lucky enough to have them myself, especially here at Learn It, who've said, you might not feel ready for it, but I think you are. I think with just a little bit of planning, I think you might be right for this. And sure enough, it helped me grow. So you're right, Shelly, a really good balance between being empathetic towards maybe someone's discomfort, because it is uncomfortable moving into that potential, and that encouragement, and just a little bit of the right push. FTG is also saying, hey, we can create a win-win situation, right? That's also another really good one there. So meaning that we're looking for what someone's motivation is and what they really want. And speaking to that, what is the win-win for them and for their current situation? Smiles are just saying to be involved. This is why informal coaching is where what we're talking about today. So it's not schedule with me once a year or 4 times a year. It's on a regular basis. I just want to check in. I know you had that big thing coming up. How'd it go? What would you do differently next time? Ray is saying, talk you through the issues to discover what could be done differently. Really good. This is that check-in step. That's going to be the final step of the 5 steps that we go through in the larger course. Really great. FTG saying, overcoming barriers by translating them into opportunities. Really good to sort of invert something, to say, okay, I'm seeing this as a challenge. What's the challenge saying? How can we make this an opportunity for growth? These are really great. Thank you for throwing these all into the stream. I really appreciate that. I want to go over 4 different styles of coaching, and we'll talk about the ones that we cover the most in the fuller 2-hour course, where we have more time to engage with each other. So I want to run you along an x-axis and a y-axis for the 2 different criteria that lead us toward the 4 different styles of coaching. And so along the x-axis, we have more information going in, meaning we are giving the coachee more information. We're telling them a lot, right? That's one end of the spectrum. Another end of the spectrum is not telling them a whole lot. We're just not putting a ton of information in. So those are the 2 ends of one criteria. Telling, not saying a whole lot at all, right? So just balance along that one. Now let's take a look along the y-axis. On one end, we're pulling a lot of energy out of our coachee, meaning there's a lot going on for them. They're learning, and a lot is coming out. The other end, and perhaps the one that we're less interested in most of the time, is we're not pulling a lot of energy out of them, right? They're kind of going through the motions. It's just something that they're not engaged in, right? So we'll just talk about where these all land. By the way, I see Gospel Music saying adapting to the current situations and figuring out solutions. Thank you very much, Gospel. I appreciate that. That is right in there. So let's just look at the lower left-hand corner. When we're putting a lot of information in and we're not getting a ton of energy out, this is the directive style of coaching. Right? And this is the one we're probably most familiar with, because it is similar to teaching. It's similar to saying, hey, this is something that I want you to know, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. This is usually our first stop along any kind of training or any kind of coaching that we ever encounter in our lives, from when we're kids even to when we're adults, right? Let me just tell you how to do it. And often we find ourselves as managers of other people being directive, because, like I said before, we know how to do it. That's how we became a manager sometimes, right? We know how to do this really well. Please just do it my way. I'm going to tell you how to do it. This is where we're putting a lot of information. Do it this way, this way, this way. Tech Gigs is right there in the stream saying that's the old school style. It is, right? Do it this way, do it my way. What it does is it doesn't pull a lot of energy out. Okay, I know how to do it. Thank you for treating me like an ATM machine where you hit a button and I give you something, right? And so you're not getting a lot of energy out of me. I'm a little bit less engaged, right? And so then the other one, if we go just to the right here, so we're still not pulling a lot of energy out, and we're also not putting a lot of information in. This is more of a laissez-faire style of coaching, right? Sometimes it makes sense to not be that engaged. In the game of baseball, which is just starting spring training right now, there's that saying, you do not talk to your pitcher in the middle of a no-hitter. Why? They're doing a really good job. I don't want to do anything to maybe mess it up, right? This is where a laissez-faire style of coaching could be really useful. Knowing that your interference in any way actually might disrupt something that's going quite well. So this is where a laissez-faire style can come in really handy. It's really more situational towards something that happens to be going in the right direction. Then there's another style of coaching where we're actually pulling a lot of energy out, but we're not putting a ton of information in. It's called non-directive. This kind of style of coaching is something you might find in a meditation style of coaching, where you have some questions, and the person who's the master might give you just a question back. Well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Go think about it. Right? You don't put a lot of information in, but then you go and you think about all those things, and it pulls a lot of energy out of you, because you're trying to grapple with some very, very good riddles or questions that make you think about something. So it's non-directive, meaning you're not entirely engaged in it. As a pop cultural reference, I like to think of Yoda is kind of a non-directive coach toward Luke Skywalker. right? He doesn't put a lot of information in, but he pulls a ton of energy out of Luke Skywalker. Pop culture reference there, but I think it kind of works. So non-directive is where we don't say a lot. We ask a couple questions, we say it, and we leave the other person to figure it out on their own because you want them to. And then finally, the last one, and this is the one where we spend our full course on. This last one is a balance of non-directive and directive, where we are putting a lot of information in, but we're pulling a lot of information out too by asking those questions. And this one's called situational coaching. Again, it's a balance between the directive, which doesn't pull a lot of energy out, and the non-directive, which isn't truly fully engaged. And it continues to ask questions. So this is the one we're going to go for. This is the one we're going to spend some time talking about. I want to move into our prerequisites and our foundations for coaching in just a moment, but situational is where we're going to be living for the rest of our time here today, and also in the fuller course. This is where we spend our time. So I want to talk about the foundations to attributes to coaching. And again, this is not about having a credential. This is not about here's where you need to go to school. Right, the foundational attributes are really more of a way of thinking about things. You need to, as a coach, you need to be able to believe that that people are actually capable of solving their own problems. You need to be able to believe that people are actually resourceful. People do not need to be fixed. You have to believe that people actually need to be empowered to fix their problems, which means if you're going to be a coach, sorry, pessimists, you're going to have to find where that optimism might live in you. As your job, as a coach, it really is your whole goal, your job to get the best out of someone. And you can't do that unless you can actually see that potential. You say, I see the inner performance. I know what you're capable of. And I know that you're capable of getting there. So you have to have some form of optimism if you're going to be a coach. If you approach it with pessimism and you say, I'm not so sure you can do this, it's going to be harder to coach them to be able to do it because you yourself don't even believe you can do it. So you really need to have this optimism. And I'm going to want you to think about where you can grow some of your own optimism around your direct reports or around yourself. There's a question here. Situational coaching can easily morph into situational managing staff, isn't it? I think I understand your question there, FTG. That situational coaching might move into managing. Are you mentioning micromanaging there? Is that your question there, FTG? But it could balance. It could tip into that, which is why we need to balance, making sure that we're not moving into some kind of micromanaging where we're telling too much and we're over engaged. So we have optimism here for one of them. The other foundation is about trust. So we have to establish some kind of rapport. We need to establish some kind of trust so that the other person feels they can grow. FTG, I see you said, no, that's not it. Maybe if you can clarify there in the chat bar, the question, maybe it'll help me respond a little bit clearer. So thank you. So trust is the other thing that we need to be able to make sure that we're maintaining those relationships, and making sure that we're doing it in a way where they feel that they can come to us with their problem, that they can be vulnerable with their issues that they're coming up with. If they're not entering into an engaged, trusting relationship, you're not going to get a lot out of the coaching. So you need to establish a foundation, a rapport, a trust that needs to be there for that. So think about how you're going to grow your optimism with your direct reports, and also perhaps grow the trust, right? How can people feel comfortable coming to you? How can they feel comfortable making a mistake? Because you have to be able to make a mistake to be able to correct. So if that's not there, we're going to be missing some crucial foundations. The next one is I want to talk about some prerequisites for the coaching mindset. We want to make sure that we're actively developing someone, not dictating. And again, this is the ability to ask good questions to help develop your employee, your direct report. This is critical for the coaching. You also don't want to dictate. If I knew how to make the best taco in the world, right, and I wanted to tell someone to make the best taco, I don't want to necessarily dictate how they should make my best taco. If my job is a coach, what I want to do is I want to get them to be able to make their best taco, right? It's going to be a little bit different of a scenario where I'm not going to tell them what to do. I'm going to ask them questions to see how they can get their best taco. And don't get us wrong. There are some times when we're actually going to need to be dictatorial, as it were. We need to be able to tell someone when to do something. For example, if my current house was on fire right now and the fire department showed up, I would really hope that even if there was a new fireman trainee that day, that the lead fireman would not say, well, what do you think? Should we go in through the window? Should we use the ladder? What would you do? In that kind of scenario, I'm really going to want them to say, do this, 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 and this. Get in there, save the dog, and put out the fire, right? So in some positions, we really do need to dictate. When we are in a coaching scenario, and we're going to talk toward the end of our time today about when is a good time to enter the questioning and the coaching, and when is a good time to do the telling. But generally for the prerequisite, we're going to want to do more drawing someone out. And thank you, Smiles. I see you there saying that listening and understanding might be part of that. Really good. And then we also going to want to support someone. We want to support someone. This is again through that empathy that came up when I asked you what good coaches do, feeling with someone. So this is the supporting. I want to make sure that you feel supported as I coach you through something. And also, again, listening. This was something else that had come up when I asked that question. What do good coaches do? They actively listen. And there's a few parts to this active listening. This is partially about engagement. It's about being present. So not multitasking or doing 10 things when you're with someone else, giving them your full undivided attention, avoiding interruption. You also want to do something that's called attunement. And this is where you can think of attunement as deep, deep, deep listening. Attunement is where we're empathizing with the speaker, and good listeners are themselves. They're open to feeling along with the other person. So you're getting into what their emotions are, because your job as a coach is to sort out partially what their words are saying and partially what their body is doing and what their emotions are telling you. And so you can reflect those back. I'm hearing that your words are saying this, but I'm also noticing that's incongruent with the tone and the emotions that are coming out. Can you tell me more about that? Is there more going on? And this is where a coach might be able to draw out someone to be able to say, yeah, there actually is more going on, and it's this and this. So you want to get attuned with them. And also part of the listening and not telling is just having respect for this other person. And also usually respecting that they are coming to you with a very specific set of skills, right? They have their own skills that make them uniquely talented for their job. They're also coming to you with a unique set of potentials that maybe they haven't quite grown into yet. And so as you listen, you respect all of those things. Really good. So see, FTG, I see you're responding there in the chat bar. You actually use management by objective through spelling out and agreeing on specific expectations. That's a great example of good goal setting and being transparent about the goal setting. We work with so many folks that don't have carved out goals that they've created with their managers. And that creates some vagueness in terms of what do I prioritize when a lot comes at me. If I'm clear about what those goals are, I can prioritize. And then you say, FTG is saying that if then people struggle, I will guide them through asking opening questions. So FTG is putting a really good example of we're going to set the goals that will be perhaps developed together, but I maybe going to have a strong hand in shaping those, partially because FTG is probably pointing out that you are accountable as a manager toward other things. So you need to make sure that your team understands what your accountabilities are, which is going to help shape their goals. And then FTG is saying, then you go through and guide them through asking questions about how they are going to find their strategy to achieve the goals that you've mutually agreed upon, which is really great. And this helps, you said, is provide guidance to help them through to achieve the results. Micromanagement will be the last line of defense. Totally. Yes. Again, micromanagement is one of those things that we will only do. Last line of defense, as FTG is saying in there, because there's a great need for it. As I said, building's on fire. We don't have time to get someone to figure out the thing. I need to tell you these 3-4 things. Go do it. I'm going to micromanage you to put out the fire. Afterwards is when you can download. Okay, so I know how to jump in there and be a little dictatorial. What would you do next time? How would you do it? Well, what were your thoughts about how you did it, right? You can coach them retroactively on something you had to micromanage them through, understanding why you had to micromanage them through. So thank you, FTG. That's really, really great there. So here's what I want us to do, another exercise here. We just talked about foundations, and we also talked about prerequisites. So I want us to take a few minutes right now. And I want you to be able to add this into the stream. And here's going to be our exercise. The first one, and I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do it. I would love for everyone to chime in on the stream if possible. What are a couple ways you can improve that foundational aspect, your optimism and trust with your direct reports? What are a couple things that you might be able to do? An action item that you might be able to set for yourself right now in this stream that you can change going forward. So, what might you do to increase your optimism? Might it be to list out the potentials of your direct reports, to know what they are so you don't have to search for them in your mind? Might it be to build trust? You're going to need to have a couple more one-on-ones where you get to understand who the person is a little bit more, so they feel that you're interested in them. What are a couple ways you can do to do this? I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I'm going to set the timer right now. So 2 minutes on just this one question, and I'd love for you to be able to fill it in on the chat bar. And if you're unable to do that, please do it on your own. You gave this time to yourself today, so please take it to do this, because no one makes you do it outside of this. So do it now if you can. 2 minutes has already started. I want you to come up with 2 ways and perhaps share them for accountability reasons. You can improve optimism and trust with your direct reports. They're already coming into the chat bar. Thank you so much. Lena is saying, so one thing you're going to do there to improve your optimism and trust, perhaps reliability, is the trust. I'm going to lead by example, is what Lena is saying here. And then work on active listening is another one. So as you work on that active listening, that's probably going to increase the trust, because as people feel more heard, they're more likely to listen and hear you. So that might build the trust. And if you're leading by example about being reliable, someone they can count on, that's probably a really great way to increase optimism. Hey, I know that Lena is reliable, and that's a continued thing that I can always count on. I now am increasing my trust and probably my optimism as well. About 30 seconds left on this one. And Smiles is saying, brainstorm. So is this, if you could tell me a little bit more there, Smiles, in the chat. Is this brainstorming about optimism, or brainstorming together so that you can increase trust, so that you're working together? What does that mean? And anyone else that wants to share, go ahead. 2 minutes is almost up here. Ray is saying build trust and have more one-on-one conversations, increase active listening to hear the entire conversation. Really good. You want to hear the whole person there, Ray. So the things that they're saying, the things that they're not saying, and let them know that you actively care about what they're doing, which is where empathy comes from. This is how trust can build. So great. So a couple more one-on-ones so that we're getting more touch points. Really great. That was number one. This takes care of how we are going to increase and improve our optimism and trust with direct reports that we have. The second one is about reflecting on the prerequisites needing for a coaching mindset. Remember, these were we're not going to be judging, right? We're going to be listening more. We're also going to not be dictating, and we're also going to have empathy and support. So what are those areas that you're going to most need to improve? And just to back up, this is what we're looking at here: developing, supporting, and listening, right? So which of these might you be able to work on for the second question there? What area needs the most improvement? What is one or two things that you're going to do to improve? 2 more minutes just on this one. Write it down, share it into the stream to keep you accountable. And I want to hear what you come up with. And Tech Gigs is saying, prepare what you need to coach. Great. So preparation is a really great way of doing that. I know that when I coach folks, I make sure that I'm going over all my notes about this person and the goals we've set before we meet. Absolutely. So you don't have to find it while you're there. And prepare the day before. Okay, these are the 4 people I'm going to run into. Here's a couple questions I might want to ask each of them. So prerequisites, foundations, and prerequisites. About a minute and a half left on this second one. And I see Tech Gigs is coming into the stream with making sure that people don't lose interest in the topic. Right. So yeah, well, sometimes interest can wane, or hey, I was excited about this, but time has gone on. What do I need to do to re-engage that spark, to reorient them towards this? Also, having control of the coaching. Right. Control of the coaching, mostly it means that you're asking questions and they're giving you feedback. As long as that's there, you should have more control of the coaching. And also note that when things are going off a little bit, and I think Tech Gigs is right here. How do we bring them back to great? Okay, so we've gone a little afield. That's important. Let's come back to that issue at hand here. And make sure that when you coach, you leave with a positive note and a good memory. Yeah, having some kind of reward there. And this is where that support part comes in. When people feel supported by something, they're more likely to re-engage and remember and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this anyways. I'm going to go ahead and grow into that potential area, despite how discomforting it might feel. Really great. About 10 seconds left in this 2 minutes on this second reflection. Please feel free to share them in the stream. All right. And that brings us to 2 minutes. Thank you for doing that. If you did not get a chance to do that, or you were kind of thinking about it, I really encourage you sometime today, if you can, write out those two things. What can you do to build that trust, build that optimism, reflect on those prerequisites? For me, the one I always have to work on as a coach is that one about develop, don't dictate. It is so much easier for me to go into a default of telling someone how something is done. I just know it. It's something I always need to work on. So that's the one I'm constantly looking at. How can I develop more than dictate? When I develop, I do see a difference. People's eyes light up when people are getting their own ideas. It's hard for me to say, God, that's not my own idea. But the better idea comes between two people, not in someone telling someone a good idea. So consider that as a coach. Really great. So we'll continue on here. I want to talk about, this is for the active listening piece, and this comes from motivational interviewing. It comes from counseling as well, as the 4 parts of active listening. And these are the things that we're going to need to make sure that we're doing throughout our coaching. This is not an order. You don't do one, then the next, then the next. It's not an acronym that works that way. We want to be able to do these all at different times. So the first one is look for open-ended questions. These are questions that do not have a yes or no answer. They don't have a binary. They don't have a multiple choice. They're questions that open up exploration. Can you tell me what's on your mind? Can you tell me what was difficult about that? What was that experience like for you? They're usually non-leading, although the one about what was difficult about that, that's somewhat leading. But if a coachee said to me, well, that was difficult, I might be able to say, what was difficult about it? So open-ended questions keep the exploration going. It allows them to continue to find other things. There is a time for close-ended questions, but generally we want to lead mostly with open questions, open-ended questions. It allows the exploration to continue going to find the answers needed. We also want to acknowledge along the way, and this is that acknowledging the small gains that have happened. I want to acknowledge that this is moved forward. I want to acknowledge and celebrate maybe the fact that you've made an attempt here. Right? These little wins along the way are really useful for finding a carrot in our ability to go into that discomforting place for that potential. So great. So we want to acknowledge, we're asking open-ended questions and acknowledging where there are small wins along the way. And then there's reflection. This is a way of actively paraphrasing something that someone else is saying to us. In my background as a crisis counselor, this was critical for our work, which was to say, if I'm hearing you right, these are the things you're saying. Am I getting that right? Or what I'm hearing is this. Is that right? So this is where a close-ended question comes in really handy. When we want someone else to confirm or deny, yes or no, binary, meaning a close-ended question. We want someone to confirm or deny our own understanding of the situation. So if I'm hearing you right, these are the things you're saying. Is that right? As you do that, someone else what they're doing is they're hearing that you care about getting it right. I want to make sure I'm understanding the situation. What this does is it keeps us from reflecting and telling someone else what they're doing. What you're doing is this. What I'm seeing is that. Instead, we're saying, here's what I'm getting. Is this about right? And is this about right? As you increase those questions, what you end up doing is you move toward two answers, which is either yes, you understand me, or no, you do not. In either case, you get a win, because even if the answer is no, you don't understand me, now you have a chance to say, okay, can you say it again, or can you say it differently, or can you help me understand better? Which shows that you actually care about getting to the bottom of what they're dealing with. Or they say yes, in which case you racked up a bit of a win there, right? So this is a really good tool to use in all active listening, but it really works well in coaching. And then finally, there's that summarization piece. That summarization piece is about sort of following up with, okay, so here's the things we covered today. Here are the things we're going to work on, making sure that there is a full summary at the end so that people know that something happened. Okay, I get it. Right after this conversation, these are the two things I'm going to try. I'm trying to pin you down to an action item, if you will. So that summary comes in really handy there. There was a couple of things that came in the chat bar in the last minute or two. Lena saying, yeah, two minds can be better than one sometimes. Sure. Sometimes if you get too many heads in the same room, I think I catch your drift there, Lena, but you're right about that. Sometimes the really, really good ideas come in that brainstorm. So really good. And then Tech Gigs is saying, making coaching a little more interactive with giving candidate short-term questions or a workout that they feel that they're contributing to and getting it right. Yeah, again, if people can feel that there are wins along the way in that acknowledgement, you're right, Tech Gigs, that we want to be able to give them that so that there are carrots along the route of the growth. Really good. So one other thing I want to make sure that we cover before, because we're coming to the end of our time here together, but it's when to ask, when we should be in the asking stage and when we should be in that telling stage. Again, back to that, we want to develop, not dictate. This is a balance. We don't want to never dictate. Again, we're going to have to. Firemen, right? Saving in the house. Please tell the young firemen what to do. But there are times when we should ask, when we should tell, and I want to make sure that we go over what those are. When there are a lot of different potential solutions for something, right? When there truly are a lot of different ways to maybe get at, as was said earlier in the stream, a certain goal. We've agreed upon a goal. There's a lot of different ways to get there. This is when you might be able to go through the coaching and ask the right kinds of questions. When we need to tell someone, if your coachee legitimately does not know the answer, because then what they're telling you is, I actually need a teaching or a training here. Right? I actually have never worked with this software before. I've actually never worked in this field before. I know nothing about this client yet, right? So anything like that where they literally don't know the answer, this is where, okay, great. So I'm going to tell you what I know, and then we can go back to coaching once you do know, just as FTG had said previously about we're going to establish some goals, and then I'm going to coach you how to get there. Great. And then FTG saying, ORS is the reason why you asked the situational coaching is not morphing into management. I am using the very same method to agree on objectives and set out clear expectations by staff. Yes. So I think I'm getting your drift there, FTG, about situational coaching is partially managing. You know, there is an old school, and I forget who said old school style in the stream earlier. The old school style of management was something a little bit more dictatorial. Do it this way, do it that way. These are the expectations, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. That's the way this operation is going to run. And you're right, FTG, that it's morphing into management, because managing and coaching are going side by side a little bit more. And go back to those stats that show that when we are working somewhere where we can find a coaching and a management together, meaning that the manager is there to, of course, manage, but also to help us unlock our potential so that we can grow. The benefits there are tremendous. And so, yes, it is morphing into a kind of management. They do share a piece, but that's why we try to divide the differences between them and where they are separate, because they are a little separate, but they are starting to move together a little bit more. So I think that might be what I'm catching there, FTG, but correct me if I'm wrong. So a little bit more on when to ask and when to tell here. When the coachee is not making a lot of mistakes, right? Or the mistakes are not high impact, right? Okay, it's a little mistake here and there. We can keep moving on. If there's a lot of mistakes, or the mistakes are getting higher and higher impact, we might want to just describe, okay, so a couple of these mistakes have led to a couple of these impacts. So we want to just step in and maybe help you come up with a plan that has been proven until maybe you can find your own way of working again. So when there's a lot of mistakes happening, or when they're high, we want to be able to come in and say, okay, we need to make an adjustment here, and I want to strongly recommend one that's going to work. Also, when we have time for fuller conversations and check-ins, and this one is the big one, right? We almost never ever have time to do these things. So we want to be able to have time to do this. And then there's times when we just don't have time. We need a quick outcome. We need a quick decision. So that's why we're going to go quickly here, and I'm going to give you the answer. If we do too much of the one on the right-hand side of the screen, it leads to some negative outcomes. If we only do the one on the left, we're going to spend a little bit more time, which is of course a resource. So it's always a balance. If we're only going after quick outcomes, well, we're not going to get a lot of energy. We're not going to get a lot of engagement out of our direct report. So finding that balance. Trial and error, this can enhance brainstorming and collaboration, right? Let's work together on something. We're going to increase our trust here as well. Also, a decisive action is actually just needed in this moment, right? So you can see that when things are urgent, stressful, really time sensitive, and also when the mistakes are getting high, we're going to want to move toward I'm going to just tell you what to do. On the ask part, this takes a little bit more time. It's going to build more trust. Finding that balance. Don't spend too much time in only one of them, especially not on the right-hand side of the screen, especially if you want to grow as a coach. So we're coming up toward the end of our time together today. I just want to introduce to you what is in the full-blown class. We go through each step, and we offer a series of questions that could be really useful in each step of the situational coaching model, collecting the data, defining what that challenge is. What's the current situation? What are the questions I can ask to help draw out what that future solution might be? And then that check-in, where we're continuing to come back and check in. We go through all those questions. We work on them together in the larger course. I really do hope to see you there in that course. But this is what I've just presented to you today is most of the first part of that course. In the fuller course, we get to engage a little bit more together. I want to also encourage you to come to our offsite community. It's a really great place where if you have not been there yet, please come join us there. People just like yourselves can talk with other professionals about what they're getting, what they're hearing, and what they want to learn. It's a really wonderful community. So please see us there. And I hope to see you back and learn it. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Ben or Mickey, whoever's back with us. And I will let everyone get back to the rest of their morning. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And I will hopefully see you at the next one. So that's it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you very much. And you guys, if you want to dive deeper, Christian already kind of jumped into it. He was talking about, where the full course is at and everything like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop a link. Actually, if you want to sign up for the full course, you can sign up here. I also dropped a link to Offsite if you're looking to join there. Again, that is our online community of 7,000 plus professionals and experts. You can go there to ask your questions. Like if you had a question about one of our courses or anything like that, you can go in there and ask the question. Our instructors will actually answer it for you. So it's a place where you can learn, grow, and network. Let me just kick over to that. And then just going over the rest of the events for March. It is Start Strong, Skills for Us. Obviously, today was Coaching for Managers. Next week will be Resiliency and Grit for Changing Times. Also, we have 2 exclusive Ask the Expert sessions. This is only for offsite members. This is where we have an instructor available for an hour or 2 hours, and you can go in there live, bring your workbooks or whatever you want, and you can ask your questions and get them answered right there. So we have Ask the Expert next level skills for MS Word. So, if you have a Word document and you need to add footnotes or, you need to add citations or anything like that, you can actually come in and ask our instructors and they'll actually show you how to do it right then and there. So it's a great opportunity to, if you're having any struggles on any of the software or anything like that, to come and ask questions. And, you can also probably ask some Excel and PowerPoint questions as well. They're going to try to focus on Word, but if you have anything else, like if you're stuck on a formula in Excel or you need a workbook to work a certain way, you can bring it there and they will show you how to get it done. We also have Ask the Expert Master Outlook. That's on 329. Outlook isn't just for reading your email. There's a ton of other powerful features with the calendar, tasks, and other things like that can really, really set you up for better time management or for, even better communication overall. So we have another access expert for that on March 29th. There's a QR code there if you guys want to scan it to join offsite. Again, I just went over everything that's there. We have the badges certification. If you attend all of the monthly courses, including the Ask the Experts, you can get some certificate. You can earn some badges, digital badges that you can share on LinkedIn and whatnot. We also do have exclusive offers. Sometimes there's going to be something like a discount on a class, or maybe some free courses as well available. Lastly, I want to ask everyone if they can fill out the evaluation for this course today. We want to know exactly what you guys got out of it, what worked, what didn't work, what you liked, what you didn't like, just so we can keep improving and bringing you guys much better and better courses. I dropped that link there in the chat, and I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. Yep. So let me just put myself here on the screen. So yeah, guys, here's me and Christian. But yeah, we're really glad you joined us today, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Hopefully, Mickey was supposed to host today, but unfortunately, her Wi-Fi, or her internet, I should say, went down. So Mickey should be hosting next week, but it'll be a new instructor and everything like that. So we will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, and remember, Access 2021, the full course, premieres right now. So if you guys want to learn Access 2021, we have the full course starting right now. Other than that, have a great weekend, and I hope you guys learned a lot.